There comes a moment in every man's life where something breaks inside him, a silence, a betrayal, a goodbye that didn't make sense, a love that left without explanation, and in that moment he becomes two people, one who begins to build walls, and one who quietly asks, "What's wrong with me?" If you're here, it's likely you've been through that moment. Maybe a woman ghosted you after you gave her everything. Maybe the world only seems to value your utility, but not your soul. Maybe you feel like no one ever chooses you. They choose your strength, your body, your money, but they never truly see the boy who had to become a man before he was ready. But I'm here to tell you something that no one ever told me. No one can hurt you, not anymore. Not when you wake up to your own shadow. Not when you face your wounds with reverence instead of shame. Not when you learn that pain is not an enemy, but an initiation. Your dominant thoughts become your dominant reality. This is about becoming so aware, so honest with your own suffering, that not even rejection can pierce you. Because when you know who you are really you'll see that most people aren't trying to hurt you. They're just bleeding in your direction. Rejection feels like a knife, swift, sharp, and humiliating. She stops texting. She says, "You're a good guy," but, or worse, she vanishes without a trace. Like your presence was a burden she couldn't carry another day. And your first thought, "What did I do wrong?" But the truth is, she didn't reject you, she revealed you. Every man projects his unloved parts onto the women he desires. In Jungian psychology, the anima is the inner feminine within every man. She's not just a woman in the world. She's a reflection of the part of you that longs to be nurtured, held, accepted. So when she leaves, it doesn't just hurt your ego. It wounds something ancient in you, the part that never felt seen by his mother, the part that had to perform to be loved. The part that learned silence was safer than need. Her leaving is a divine interruption, a rupture that calls you to remember yourself, not the version of you that tries to please, fix, impress, or protect, but the man who asks, "Why do I keep giving my soul to people who haven't earned my story? Why do I collapse in the face of silence, as if I'm not whole without her?" This isn't about blaming her. It's about meeting yourself in the space she left behind. It's about realizing you were hoping she would love parts of you that you still abandon. And here's the transformation. When you stop asking, "Why did she leave?" and start asking, "What part of me needed her to stay?" you begin the most powerful journey a man can take, the journey inward. You'll discover that heartbreak is not punishment. It's an unveiling. It shows you where you've placed your worth outside of yourself. It reveals the hunger you've mistaken for love. And when you face that truth, when you hold yourself through the ache instead of escaping it, you begin to alchemize your pain into power. You stop chasing people who reflect your wounds. You start choosing people who match your healing. And that's when you'll know she didn't destroy you. She awakened you, and now no one can ever reject you the same way again. Because you're no longer asking to be chosen, you've finally chosen yourself. You've been taught to silence it, the rage, the jealousy, the moments you feel weak, scared, needy. You push it down and put on the mask, the one that says, "I'm fine, I'm in control, I don't feel anything." But here's the truth no one tells you. What you suppress doesn't disappear. It grows teeth in the dark, and one day it will either consume you from within or be weaponized by others against you. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the hidden, denied parts of yourself you refuse to look at. But here's the paradox. Your greatest strength is buried in what you've been running from. The shadow isn't evil, it's wounded, it's the 6-year old boy who learned that crying was weak, the teenager who was told anger made him dangerous, the young man who thought needing love was shameful. So instead of owning these parts, you exile them. But they don't go away. They leak into your relationships, your decisions, your identity. They control you precisely because you refuse to face them. But the moment you turn toward your shadow, the moment you sit in silence with your own darkness without judgment, you become something unstoppable, not because you're invincible, but because you are whole. Wholeness isn't perfection, it's integration. A man who knows his own rage can't be manipulated by it. A man who's befriended his jealousy doesn't fear losing. A man who can say, "I'm scared," without shame is more courageous than 1,000 who pretend they're not. Society rewards polished men, but life honors honest men, men who are no longer at war with themselves. When you stop pretending to be good all the time, and instead aim to be real, you find a power that no one can take from you. You become deeply rooted, grounded, present. You stop seeking validation and start standing in truth. And the most beautiful part, the people meant for you will feel it, because nothing is more magnetic than a man who knows his own shadow and doesn't flinch. So if you want to be truly unshakable, don't just build muscle, build awareness, face the mirror. That's where your strength has been waiting. Not in the light, but in the dark. You keep giving your heart to people who don't even like themselves. You hand over your soul, hoping someone broken will hold it gently. You bleed emotionally, hoping your pain will make them stay. But hear this now, you can't heal by losing yourself in someone else's wounds. Carl Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But what happens when only one of you is capable of transformation? What happens when you're growing and she's crumbling? You're not weak for wanting love, but you are mistaken when you think love equals saving. Too many men confuse their need to be loved with the need to be useful. So they chase women who are chaotic, emotionally unavailable, or lost, because deep down they hope that if they fix her, she'll never leave. But that's not love. That's a trauma bond. That's your inner child believing, if I'm enough, maybe this time I won't be abandoned. You keep choosing women who trigger your deepest insecurity, that you are only lovable when you're suffering, that if you earn her, save her, prove yourself to her, then maybe you'll finally deserve love. But love isn't something you earn. It's something you receive, and you can't receive it from someone who's still fighting their own reflection. Ask yourself, would you give a fragile glass sculpture to someone with shaking hands? Then why do you keep offering your heart to people who can't even hold their own? Here's the truth. Not everyone who feels good in the beginning is good for your evolution. Some people feel familiar not because they're right, but because they echo your oldest wound. It's time to stop outsourcing love to people who haven't even learned to love themselves. It's time to stop bleeding for people who call your depth too much. It's time to stop begging for connection from people still disconnected from their own soul. Heal and then choose, not from loneliness, not from fear, but from a place of alignment. Because when you finally become the love you seek, you'll stop chasing people who drain you and start attracting people who see you. Not for your usefulness, but for your being. You think you've become cold, emotionless, detached. You tell yourself you don't care anymore about love, about connection, about being seen. You scroll past the messages. You ghost first. You say, "I'm better off alone." But let me ask you something. Are you truly cold, or are you just numb from carrying a weight no one ever saw? Most men aren't emotionless. They're starved of truth, of tenderness, of a space to feel without being judged. You were raised in a culture that taught you to stay strong by staying silent, to hold everything in, to be the mountain even when you're crumbling inside. So now, when pain comes, you don't cry. You shut down. When love shows up, you pull away. When someone sees too much of you, you retreat into your shell, because vulnerability feels like danger. But Carl Jung warned that whatever remains unconscious rules your life. And the truth is, you're not cold. You're disconnected from yourself, not because you're broken, but because no one ever taught you how to be emotionally safe. You've been surviving off emotional crumbs, moments where you almost felt seen, relationships where you were tolerated but never known. And now you wear your detachment like armor, not realizing it's also become a prison. Numbness is not peace. It's self-abandonment. It's your soul screaming for truth, not just intellectual truth, but emotional truth. The truth that says, I still want to be loved. I'm tired of pretending I'm unaffected. I miss being held not for sex, not for status, but for safety. You don't need more women. You need more truth, not from the outside, but from within. It starts with sitting in silence and not escaping. It starts with naming what hurts, even if no one else is listening. It starts with understanding that emotional honesty isn't weakness, it's maturity. You're not meant to walk through life disconnected. That's not strength. That's survival mode. And brother, you weren't born to survive. You were born to feel deeply, live fully, and love consciously. So stop numbing, start listening to your breath, to your body, to the truth that's been waiting for you beneath the silence. Because when you reconnect with yourself, you'll finally feel alive again. Let them walk away, let her delete your number, let them stop calling, let the invitations dry up, let the silence grow louder. Because here's the reality, when someone chooses to leave your life, they're doing you a sacred favor. They are not taking anything from you. They are simply exiting a space that your healing has outgrown. But I know what you're thinking. If I was better, if I did more, if I didn't say that thing. Stop. You are not responsible for the emotional limitations of other people. You are not here to audition for love. And you are not meant to shrink just to be tolerated by those who never saw you clearly. Carl Jung called it individuation, the painful, necessary process of becoming your true self. And part of that process, letting go of attachments that no longer honor your becoming. Sometimes people leave not because you're unworthy, but because your growth reminds them of everything they've refused to face in themselves. You see, when a man is healing, rising, stepping into truth, he becomes uncomfortable to those still living in illusion. They may call you selfish, distant, too serious, too emotional. But what they're really saying is, you're no longer controllable. Freedom begins the moment you stop negotiating your worth. It begins when you no longer chase those who reject your depth. It begins when you understand that solitude is not punishment. It's refinement. Letting people go doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you're awake, awake to your patterns, awake to the truth that connection built on fear, obligation, or performance isn't love, it's dependency. You are not here to keep everyone comfortable. You are here to become whole, and wholeness will cost you false companionship. So if they want to leave, open the door. Bless them on the way out, because the moment you stop clinging, you make space for alignment. You make room for the tribe that sees your soul, for the woman who meets your depth with her own, for the friendships that don't flinch at your honesty. Freedom isn't found in holding on. It's found in letting go. And when you finally stop trying to keep people who don't want to stay, you'll realize you were never abandoned. You were set free. There is a reason you feel lost, a reason you chase love like it's oxygen, a reason you fall for people who manipulate your worth, for trends that confuse your identity, for voices that promise power if you just become someone else. You've been living through borrowed truths, trying to be you, based on someone else's definition, trying to win the dating game by being louder, colder, more dominant. But it's not working, is it? Because deep down you don't want domination, you want clarity, you want peace, you want to look in the mirror and finally say, "There you are, I remember you." Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But to do that, you have to stop chasing surface-level validation and go inward to the place where your soul has been whispering, long before the world taught you how to pretend. When you truly see your soul, not the image, not the ego, not the mask, but the essence that remains when no one's watching, everything changes. You stop falling for people who promise love, but only deliver control. You stop being hypnotized by trends that call emptiness confidence. You stop playing roles to be accepted by people you don't even respect. Because when you see your soul, you remember what is real. You realize you are not your following. You are not your physique. You are not your rejection or your resume. You are something ancient, rooted, unshakable, and in that knowing, you become dangerous to every system that profits from your confusion. No one can sell you a lie once you know your truth. No one can offer counterfeit love when you've tasted the real thing in your own solitude. No one can make you question your value when you've seen your own scars and called them sacred. This isn't about becoming untouchable. It's about becoming unshakably honest, and that honesty becomes your freedom. So stop looking for yourself in other people's eyes. Stop molding yourself to be liked. The real you, the soul beneath the story, was never meant to be edited, marketed, or forgotten. He was meant to be seen, and once you see him, you'll never settle for less than truth again.